Some men will explain themselves for hours. Others will look you directly in the eyes, say nothing, and walk away. And what makes this confusing is that silence can look like anger, arrogance, indifference, or even a lack of love. But sometimes silence means something completely different. Because when a man stops explaining himself, it isn't always because he has nothing to say. Sometimes he has learned that saying it changes nothing. And once you understand the psychology behind that silence, you may never look at a quiet man the same way again. 1. He doesn't want another argument. When a man believes explaining himself will only create another argument, he may decide that silence is safer. Imagine someone repeatedly asking, "Why did you do that?" He explains. Then his explanation gets challenged. So he explains again. Then another question comes. Eventually, his brain starts making a simple calculation. If talking only makes this worse, why keep talking? So he becomes quiet. Not necessarily because he doesn't care, but because he wants the conflict to end. And this is where many people misunderstand him. They see silence and think, he doesn't care. But internally, he may be thinking, I don't want to fight anymore. 2. He feels like he's not being heard. One of the fastest ways to make someone stop communicating is to repeatedly make them feel unheard. A man can explain his feelings. He can explain his intentions. He can explain what actually happened. But if the other person immediately dismisses everything he says, eventually something changes. He stops trying. Psychologically, this can become a learned response. The brain remembers. Talking didn't work last time. So next time, instead of explaining, he stays silent. And that silence isn't always emotional distance. Sometimes it's emotional exhaustion. 3. He was taught to handle problems alone. Many men grow up hearing messages like, be strong, don't complain, figure it out yourself, stop being emotional. Over time, some men learn to process difficult emotions privately. When they're hurt, they disappear for a while. When they're confused, they think. When they're angry, they withdraw. And when something is bothering them, their first instinct may not be to talk about it. It may be to solve it internally. This doesn't mean every man is emotionally unavailable. It means some men were never taught that vulnerability could be safe. So silence becomes their default language. 4. He doesn't trust the situation enough to be vulnerable. Here's something important. A man may be comfortable talking, but not comfortable talking to you about something deeply personal. There's a difference. Explaining yourself requires vulnerability. You're revealing what you think, what you fear, what hurt you, what you actually meant. And if someone has previously used those vulnerable moments against him, he may become much more guarded. He starts thinking, if I tell you how I really feel, will you understand me or use it against me later? When that trust disappears, communication often disappears with it. 5. Silence can become a form of self-protection. Sometimes silence isn't about punishing someone. It's about protecting yourself. A man who feels overwhelmed may temporarily withdraw because he needs time to regain control. Instead of saying something he doesn't mean, he says nothing. Instead of escalating the situation, he walks away. Instead of reacting emotionally, he waits. That can actually be healthier than saying something destructive in the heat of the moment. But there's an important distinction. Taking space is not the same as permanently shutting someone out. Healthy silence says, I need time to think. Unhealthy silence says, I will make you suffer by refusing to communicate. The behavior may look similar from the outside. The intention is completely different. 6. He may have already explained himself. Too many times. This is one of the biggest reasons people overlook. Sometimes the man isn't silent because he has nothing to say. He's silent because he has already said everything. He's explained what hurt him. He's explained what he needs. He's explained what he doesn't like. He's explained what he meant. And if nothing changes, eventually repetition feels pointless. So he stops explaining. Not because the issue disappeared, but because his hope that explaining will change the situation has disappeared. And that's when silence can become a warning sign. Because when someone stops arguing, sometimes they're not becoming more peaceful. Sometimes they're becoming more detached. The bigger psychology behind male silence. So what does all of this mean? It means you shouldn't automatically interpret a quiet man as someone who doesn't care. His silence could mean frustration. It could mean emotional exhaustion. It could mean self-protection. It could mean he needs time. It could mean he doesn't feel heard. Or in some situations, it could mean he's slowly letting go. The key isn't simply asking, why is he silent? The better question is, what happened before he became silent? Because silence doesn't appear out of nowhere. There is usually a story behind it. And sometimes the most important conversation isn't the one happening during the silence. It's the one that happened repeatedly before the silence began. So the next time a man stops explaining himself, don't immediately assume he has nothing to say. Ask yourself, did he stop caring? Or did he stop believing that speaking would make a difference? That difference can change everything. And if this video helped you understand human behavior a little better, don't forget to subscribe to PhysioStick for more psychology videos like this. Thanks for watching.